Hey y'all, so we are picking back up into Psalm 91:1, Psalm 91:9, and our discussion of the importance of our words. So we talked yesterday about Romans 10, 9 and 10, and that it is with our mouth, because we confess Jesus as Lord, that we become His, that we become children of God by accepting His sacrifice and confessing Jesus is Lord. Now, when we confess Him as Lord, we believe in our heart, confess Him as Lord, then it's a done deal, right? If God uses that process for the saving of our souls, which is the most important thing, why would receiving anything else from Him be any more difficult? Wouldn't you think that receiving Jesus as Lord would be the most difficult thing? That Him purifying us and redeeming us and washing us white as snow would be the most difficult? Not keeping us from snares of the fowler or pestilence that stalks in darkness, that those things would be pieces of cake, child's play, really, in relation to our redemption. So God works by words, the power, creative power of our words, and they are very important, as you can clearly see here in this Romans 10 passage, that we confess Jesus as Lord. So we've looked at Proverbs 18:21. Let's back up a verse even and go to Proverbs 18:20. And actually, I'm not going to read all of these. I will read Proverbs 18:20, but you go through Proverbs 18 and you can see in three other verses talking about the power of our words and what our words do. And actually, I will read this one because I can't help it. They're called a snare. A self-confident or a fool's mouth is his ruin, and his lips are a snare to himself. A snare. Where have you heard that word? The fowler's snare. That the Lord delivers us from the snare of the fowler, his traps. And so that our words, not my words, because I'm not a self-confident fool, but when we operate outside of Jesus Christ, when we do not have the guiding voice of the Holy Spirit, that the fool's mouth is his ruin and his lips are a snare to himself, that they would be a trap. A trap. Side note, pause. Have you ever, just in the heat of the moment, spouted out things, said something you wish you had not said because we were in the right? I mean, obviously we were in the right, so we said those things, but then we wish we had not. See, those are a snare, that our words, those words spoken in haste or in upset, frustration, anger even, would be a snare that the enemy would use. So back to Proverbs 18 verse 20. A man's moral self, okay, so our moral self shall be filled with the fruit of his mouth, and with the consequence of his words he must be satisfied, whether good or evil. Isn't that something? And the Young's literal translation, which I do like reading that one, it says, from the fruit of a man's mouth is his belly satisfied. The depths of us, our moral self, okay, that would be kind of like our soul. But I'm going to read these two together, verses 20 and 21. A man's moral self shall be filled with the fruit of his mouth, and with the consequence of his words he must be satisfied, whether good or evil. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they who indulge in it shall eat the fruit of it, for death or for life. So I think we could read Psalm 91:2. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God. On Him I lean and rely, and in Him I confidently trust. That is almost like a submission, right? And acknowledging, believing, confessing. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge. The Lord Yahweh, my Redeemer, is my fortress, my stronghold, my God, and on him I lean and rely, and in him I confidently trust. So we say it, and when we say that the Lord is our refuge, when we have placed ourselves in his hands, we have made him that refuge, and the Most High our habitation. So we've talked about the dwelling and how we dwell, and we're going to get into that a little bit more tomorrow. I will see you then. Bye, y'all.